I got it right here. It's on the share drive. Oh. Hey, what's up, young man?
I'm one of Bill's friends. Good to see you.
It's about,
Between one reading. You two sitting here with your mask on like this. You look like you're getting ready or have done. If you're I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
My streaming crew in the back, they're like, oh, we got 4 minutes and 5 seconds, but we don't. So it's kind of like, it kind of restarted itself. So pay no attention to that. one thing to pay attention to this morning, though, as we worship together, is you notice some of the pictures up there. That's just probably a snippet of this past week. Some of you, like, especially now since COVID, it's hard to see what is going on at DCC. And this past week, like, I am pumped. We had a Christ in Youth conference this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then we did this huge bike ride at Newport News Park for like 5 miles. I could tell you 1,000 stories about that. Interesting. So, God, interestingly enough, it was talking about the theme of the week was the Holy Spirit. So God, the Father, Jesus, the Son, and then the third person, the Holy Spirit. That's what we were tuning into. That's what we were honing into. And let me tell you something, guys. Just because, like, normally we do this conference and we go a week away. We go to Maryland or we go to Tennessee for a week and we stay on this college campus, and it costs a lot of money, and it's awesome. But we can't discount, like, what the Spirit did this week here in these kids' lives. So, like, there are decisions that are going to be made. There are decisions that we're talking about and we're talking through. And so you're going to see some of the kids up here singing today. Friday night, we actually had live singing. And so Carrie and Kimberly came, and they led us in a couple of these songs. This was one of them, and 3 of the students were singing along with us. So, yeah, will you join and sing with us?
Please be standing.
Going into our prayer time, I can't help but think about this past week and the last several weeks. Like, when we come in contact or we learn somebody that, hey, so-and-so has the virus. And, like, I don't know about you, but, like, I freak out. There are a lot of people. Actually, we had a prayer request this morning that it was somebody that was close to them, someone on the praise team, and that they might have come in contact with them. And so it's just this terrible feeling. We just need to continue to pray for those. continue to pray for safety, continue to pray that this virus goes away, continue to lift them up in prayer. You might have seen this past week, Linda and Larry Jones, their granddaughter, gave birth, and that they're induced for labor, and the baby's heart stopped beating. So you might want to pray for her. Her name was Haley. So that's something that happened this past week. And I also ask that you pray for just decisions, like I said earlier, about CIY and some of the kids this week. So will you pray with me? God, thank you that we could be here this morning, that we could just meet in person. God, I ask that your Spirit would move through us as we continue to worship your name this morning, that it be pleasing to you. Be with those around us who are sick and are hurting. Be with those around us who we have come in contact with. Keep us safe. Continue to heal them. Thank you for your Son, Jesus. In your name I pray. Amen.
So many questions the world is reaching, so many hurting, so many lost. With all this striving, who can we lean on? Creation's crying out from the dark. I know the answer to every question, the one solution to every fear. I know my help and where it comes from. Jesus, He is the answer. He sees our sadness, He feels our sorrow, and in our weakness He is strong. He holds the weight of all of our failings. Great is our sin, but greater the cross. I know the answer to every question, the one solution to every fear. I know my help and where it comes from. Jesus, He is the answer. For every heart that's breaking, for every soul that's shaking, for every sickness, there's healing in your hands. Let every heart awaken to see it's you who saves us. You are my hope and the rock on which I stand. You are the answer to every question, the one solution to every fear. You are my help and where it comes from. Jesus, you are the answer. Jesus, you are the answer.
As we come in time for our communion time, I ask that if maybe you don't know, communion cups are on the back, so if you use this time to go back there, yep, that's fine. But you can go ahead and prepare that. Obviously the bread is on top, so we can do that. We're going to sing a song together, and I just want you to sing along if you want, to worship out, and just think about these words as we reflect on what Jesus has done for us on the cross.
Please be standing.
God, we're mindful of this time as we meet around this table, as we partake together. We praise your name, O high. We love you so much. I ask that you would be with those who partake this morning. In Jesus' name I pray. So if you take the bread and we take this together, remember his body that was broken for us. Take the juice together as we remember the blood shed for us on Calvary. Let's take together. Good morning. How's everybody doing? All right. Last time I got in trouble for not having this in the center. So is this good? Where this is good in center? All right. A little, this way? This way. Okay. I can do that. No problem. Cliff took me out in the back there and he mentioned some things that, hey, there are things going on during the week. And so the Linda and Larry Jones thing, Linda and Larry both just ecstatic with the cards and the support and the prayers, as their granddaughter was going through that. And, that's awesome that you guys continue to do that. Continue to reach out. It's a beautiful thing. Some of you guys remember Steve Lanning. He was a part of this congregation for a long time. And he had his leg injured in a tree accident. He was cutting a tree down and it hit his leg. And so some of you guys knew about it, some of you were praying about it, and you reached out to him. And he just showed me the text that he sent, and he just all the prayers and cards. I mean, he was just very well pleased and uplifting to him. So you continue to do those things as we don't necessarily see everybody all the time because we know we have a streaming audience. We're glad that you're here with us, join us live. That just people aren't exactly ready to come back in person. It's okay. Continue to reach out to those. But we're going to be through 1 Peter. We're going through 1 Peter again, and we're still here. Somehow I got the short straw, and I got to talk about marriage today. So I think this was planned. I think Cliff planned this out pretty well because, it's a touchy subject sometimes, right? And so 1 Peter, from the beginning of this letter, it's been clear. I don't know if you remember from the very beginning, Cliff really honed in on the aliens. Remember he was talking about the aliens and what's your favorite movie, Alien, and all these things, right? So I haven't forgot about that. All right, that really stood out to me. And so in this alien, meaning that as Christians, we are to be different. We are to live a different life. So much different that it's going to be, if you're not a Christian and you see us, we're going to look totally weird to them. Like, we're going to be like, what is wrong with these people? Because they act so different. They don't even look like they fit in around here. And so we look at this. I had an interesting conversation this past week on a virtual, somebody had found our church on YouTube through our website, and they sent us an email. And they've been following us since May, it turns out. So I'm reading over this email. They live in the neighborhood. I pray that they come in person sometime. Military move. And they quoted something from the sermon that, about being aliens, about being strangers in a world. And they write all these things, and they're just thankful that we're here. And they sign off like this. Signed off as the alien and then last name. So if it was the Ferguson family, it'd be Alien Ferguson family. Like, they got it. They get it. It's a family type of mission that they would be aliens together. And so that's really cool that, that they found us that way. But they got it. It was a family for Jesus, following his ways, aliens of the world, and that's what really Peter is after. If you see that from the beginning, talking about that, and then he's continuing to talk about being strangers in the world. And then last week, you might remember, what we talk about? What did we talk about last week? Anybody remember? Oh, man. Submitting. Oh, yeah, submitting to the authorities and the governments, right? So man, that was tough for some of us, right? We don't know where we're at. Being an alien in that, meaning that we're going to look strange because we're going to be following, no matter if we like the left or we like the right or we like the center or we don't even care, we should still obey our rulers. We should still obey and submit to their authority as long as they don't go against, right, what God's having us to do. So marriages. Then he goes into this. This is where we are today, and we're in 1 Peter chapter 3. You can go ahead and get there if you want to, but we're not there yet. To marriages having roles. In the way aliens should love, right? Some of us. We're talking about alien love today. I know it's like really corny. Like, okay, we're aliens, and now we're in this marriage, and we're supposed to have this alien, foreign, strange kind of love sometimes. So be thinking about that. That's kind of weird, right? Some of you have already studied ahead, and maybe others of you have taken this section out because, like, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about marriage, and you don't know what God wants, and you just kind of like skip over that section. We can't today. We're going through the whole entire book. And some of us cringe when we have to deal with the subject for whatever matter, because it might bring up past marriages. It might bring up a current situation that you're dealing with, and you just don't want to talk about. It might be like, some of us go to lunch after church. It might lead for some very interesting discussions after we leave here. Some of it might be a little heated, talking about marriage and relationships. But it's funny how the Spirit works sometimes. My young adult group that meets on Tuesday, we just finished a relationship study, dating and relationship study, and this 1 Peter passage was key. And so now, today, being this focus on marriage, it's on marriages, but it can also be talking to single people. What if, as single people, we can look at this and get some ideas and understanding of what a godly marriage will look like before we even got into it? What if some of us had seen that and been a part of that and read that before we got married? Wow, it could have been a game changer. So let's read the passage in 1 Peter chapter 3, starting in verse 1. It says this: Wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives, when they see the purity and reverence in your lives. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and wearing a gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past, who put their hope in God, used to adorn themselves. They submitted themselves to their own husbands. Like Sarah, who obeyed Abraham and called her Lord, you are daughters if you do what is right and do not give away to fear. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. All right. Roles in marriage designed by God. Peter really lays this out in a very clear way. Hopefully it's understanding. But these roles in marriages are designed by God. And so that leads to the main idea, and that is this: that alien love is from God and for God. This strange sort of alien love is from God and for God. And he lays this, in this love that is from God, he lays out some guidance for men, all right? I know what you're thinking right now. Yes, we're starting with men. What is the alien love of men? Okay, I get it. You're looking at Peter, you're looking at this chapter, and you're like, wait a minute, Matt, they talked about wives first, and so why are you talking about verse 7? And you know what? There's actually 6 verses to women versus the one of men. But let's not miss this. I believe that he is really, yes, he uses more words, but he is honing in on husbands and what it looks like for you to be in a marriage. And so, read that again. You don't have to put it up there. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. I believe this is some heavy stuff, and I believe we need to break this down a little bit. He uses this word, considerate. Husbands, be considerate of your wives. Dictionary.com. I'm simple. I go on the computer. Dictionary.com. I go there all the time. Showing kindly awareness or regard for another's feelings or circumstances. Okay. Showing kindly awareness, regard for another's feelings. All right, man. We gotta focus. So, in some pre-marriage counseling, which I'm doing a couple right now, 2 couples actually, counseling, we talk about the differences between men and women. And men, we're fairly simple creatures. Like, we just are. And maybe this isn't the rule for everyone, but we want a wife who will make a home and not cheat on us. And not think, and you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about our wives being out there because they're not going to cheat on us and they're going to make a home for us, and we need help. Like, men, we need help. And so we look so many times, this will not change for men. We're just simple creatures. Now, women, they're a little more complex. I'm still trying to understand. Women, in general, you need a knight in shining armor. You need somebody that's going to come in and step in and take over in certain situations and just deal with it. Like, come down and save the day. You know, women want a best friend. They want somebody they can talk about their day, talk about the kids. They want you, husbands, to love their kids. And a lot of times for women, being complex, as some of you are, don't take it the wrong way, it changes over time. All right? Y'all change. Men, we'll still hear the same old people. Like, just the rest of our lives. Don't hold it against us, all right? So consider it. He's talking about be considerate to the wives that you live with. Meaning that you come home, your wife, let's say your wife works too, okay? You come home, you work a full-time job, your wife works a full-time job, and she's making a home like you asked her to in marriage counseling if you took that. And you're like, she's making a home, she's cooking a dinner, and she's at home now. Guys, let's just take a side, let's take a minute. Virtual learning, okay? If any guys in here know how to do the virtual learning for their kids, please come see me after church because I need some help. Like, I can't do that, all right? Like, that is way beyond me. And now you're asking our wives to go home and teach our kids virtually and help them along with that. Now, on top of their job, on top of them making a home, and now you're asking them to do the virtual learning. Whew, y'all got a lot. It's a heavy plate. And you come home and you had a bad day at work. Men, we have bad days at work, don't we? We complain and we're kicking and cussing. I don't usually do that here too much. But we come home and we've had a long day, and you're hungry. You know, you didn't eat a good lunch, and you come home and you're hungry. I can't wait to see what my wife has on the dinner. And you come home and there's beanie weenies sitting on the stove. Like, what? Beanie weenies? That's terrible. That's gross. Like, why are you making this stuff? And you go off and you're not being considerate anymore. You're not understanding what is going on. You're not seeing the big picture of what your wife is doing. That's not what we talked about in counseling. Like, to just go off on your wives. That's not the point. It's to be considerate. I tried my hardest. I was running a little bit behind. I was trying to get a picture to Ted. And it was this picture of something I bought my wife, Amber. And I just want you to know, Amber wanted to comb through this and make sure her name wasn't in here much, okay? And it's not, but this time it is, and she knows it's in here, so you can talk to her about it. I go on this business trip to Las Vegas, and it was this really incredible trip, and Macy and Molly were born, and I was going to bring the kids home some souvenirs. So I bought them a shirt, and I bought them a stuffed animal, and I bought them this a little like souvenir, like trinket stuff. And so we get home, and we're sitting around in the living room, and Macy opens hers first, and then Molly opens hers, and they love it. And Amber's like, well, where's mine? I was like, I got yours right here. And so I bring it out of a suitcase, and it is a Las Vegas spoon rest. Not a good idea, guys. I don't know if you know what a spoon rest is. Not a good idea, okay? But I thought it was beautiful. I mean, it was this, like, beautiful picture with Las Vegas on it. It had the casinos on it. She don't care about the casinos. Like, so, anyways, it's gone. And I tried to find it because I wanted to bring it. She's like, well, no, I threw that away years ago. I was like, what do you mean? So I look on Amazon because I'm trying to desperately find a picture for it. Amazon's out of stock. I was like, see, this was worth money. You could have sold this. It could have been worth a lot of money. And you threw it away. But I wasn't being considerate there. Yeah, I wanted to take care of the kids. And I wanted to get them a nice gift. But remembering the marriage, that was before the kids came. She should have had the bigger gift. She should have been taken care of, but I wasn't being considerate. And so single people, single men included, they're included here. Women are not your objects. They're not, you don't own them. And he talks about this in great length in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Starting in verse 25, it's on the screen. Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. It's heard a lot in the weddings. We read that one all the time. Husbands are to love your wife as Christ loves the church. Single men, you love your girlfriends, like you lift them up. They're not your property, and they won't become your property when you get married. Let's get it straight now. So we get to the last part of verse 7. I'm telling you, I told you, men, I told you, y'all thought y'all were getting off on the easy road today, but in verse 7, if you go to the end of that, so nothing that will hinder your prayers. What do you mean hinder my prayers? I need all the prayer I can get in this marriage. Like, are you going to hinder my prayers now? Yeah, we gotta think about this. Husbands not being considerate, maybe treating your wives as objects, it's going to hinder your prayers. Peter talks about it. She may be the weaker partner, but she's still a partner. We're still together in this, 100%, 100%. Jesus teaches about this hindering on the Sermon on the Mount. You might remember this in Matthew chapter 5 and 23. Matthew 5:23. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, and then come offer your gift. How we treat our wives in our marriage and in our relationships can hinder our relationship with God. How we treat our wives or how we treat our significant others can hinder our relationship with God. So, as husbands and men, we are to love as Christ loves the church. Remembering the way that we love our wives is totally different from what the world teaches us. Remember? This is what Peter was trying to say at the beginning. If we're aliens, let's be aliens in everything. This is going to be so weird, and this love is going to be so foreign to people around us, they're not going to get it. They're going to see something totally different. Think about it. Think about this. Now, that was alien husbands, right? Alien love. What does it look like? And single men. Now let's look at the wives. I know we've been hammering, man. We got to move on. We got to go back. We need to go back. We need to see what this alien love looks like for wives or single people, single women. Think about it. If you're single, that's why I don't want to exclude. I don't want it to be just married people, but I want it to be single people talking about it too. If we were to look in, if we have this little bit of information before we were getting married, we would have, like, what does it look like? We'd have a clue before we make a life-changing decision for the rest of our lives. We would have this information. Let's tuck it away. Let's live it out in our relationships as we're dating. So let's go back. 1 Peter. Let's look at the women's side of things. I know we read it once, but 1 Peter 3, 1 through 6. Wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that, if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives, when they see the purity and reverence in your lives. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past who put their hope in God used to adorn themselves. They submitted themselves to their own husbands, like Sarah, who obeyed Abraham and called him her Lord. You are daughters if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. Seems kind of clear. Be submissive to your husband. We can go back to being submissive to the authorities and the rulers. Remember last week? And I'm not talking about submitting to your husband that if you're in a physical or emotional abuse relationship, I'm not asking you to submit there. No, absolutely not. We have to have discernment there. Just like the authorities that Cliff talked about, California last week, and they're looking at these executive orders, and they're making it almost impossible for churches to have like small Bible studies together. Like, of course, you're not going to submit in that case. But what he is saying, what Peter is saying, that he is submitting and loving even an unbeliever. If you're married to an unbeliever, and we know that some of you are, that because of the way you live, and because of the way you submit, you will be able to win them over. The alien love is going to take over, and they're going to see like, man, like Christ is changing her life, and she's still submitting, and it just means something. Don't give up on this. Don't give up, wives, like in that situation. And finally this, it's about the inner beauty. Now I know, okay, I'm a male. You might not listen to me, but I do have 3 daughters. One of them sitting right here on the second row. And I am desperately trying to teach them and to direct them. It's not all about the outside appearance. It's just not. It's not about the type of makeup you wear or buy. It's not about the shoes that you have. It's not about the holy jeans. Y'all seen those, holy jeans? Yeah, they come wore out now, guys. Like they're, like, yeah, it's weird. But it's not about that. It's about the heart. It's about the inner beauty. It's that alien inside of you that Peter is saying, like, hey, you're to be different. That's not going to look like the world, but you're going to look more like Christ each day. Not like the world, but more like Christ. And so when these roles come together, when we have these, you're going to go home and you're like, man, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of reading there, and I don't understand. And you know what? I'm not even married. I'm not going to listen to this. But when we understand these roles for a husband and wife, and when they click together, and when they're on the same page, and you're as one unit. Remember, we were to come together as one flesh. When we made that commitment when we got married, our marriages are going to be healthier because we're in this together 100%, 100%. And when single people take this truth, they will be better prepared to enter how a marriage should look under how God designed it. It's a design that goes back to the beginning. It goes back to verse 7. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you in the gracious gift of life. A life that is from God and for Him. A life eternal with Him in heaven. In other words, the way you love your spouse sets them up for eternity. guys have a great day. Don't forget, like, social distance. We're kind of being outside, so as you filter out there, feel free to, hang out. Yep, socialize. Have a great day. If you go online to the main page, you can fill it out to see if you're interested on a Wednesday night program or a Thursday night program for the youth. So definitely do that. Check that out this week.